The silence in my truck was the first real clue. Not the easy, comfortable silence that settles between two people who've known each other forever. This was a new silence, brittle, glassy, something that had crept into our lives over the last few months. My wife, Chloe, sat in the passenger seat, staring out at the endless suburban sprawl of Northern Virginia. Her phone was clutched tight in her lap, screen down. We were driving home from my parents' Thanksgiving dinner, a tradition we'd kept for our entire 6-year marriage. But the warmth of it had vanished, replaced by a polite, sterile void. I glanced over at her. At 33, she was somehow even more beautiful than the day I'd met her. Lately, though, that beauty seemed different. A little too bright, a little too manic, like a light bulb burning out. "Everything okay?" I asked, my voice jarring in the quiet truck. She jumped. "Oh yeah, fine. Just tired." She shot me a quick smile that didn't touch her eyes. "Your mum's turkey was a little dry this year, don't you think?" It was a classic deflection. She'd become an expert at it. Find a minor flaw in the world to avoid looking at the gaping chasm that had opened between us. Later that night, after our 4-year-old daughter, Lily, was asleep, the silence returned, heavier this time. Chloe was on her phone again, her back to me in our bed. The soft tap-tap-tap of her thumbs was the only sound. A few months ago, she would have been reading a book, or curled up against me. Now this glowing rectangle was her constant companion. A cold, unfamiliar feeling washed over me. It wasn't just suspicion, it was a deep, primal sense that something was wrong. The kind of stillness you feel right before an earthquake. I had always trusted her completely. My love for her was the bedrock of my life. To doubt her felt like doubting the ground beneath my feet, but the ground was starting to tremble. I waited until she was asleep, her breathing deep and even. The phone was on her nightstand, charging. My heart hammered against my ribs. This felt like a violation, a point of no return. But not knowing was a cancer. I had to know. I picked it up. Locked, of course. I tried her birthday. No. Our anniversary. No. Lily's birthday. Click. It opened. A fresh wave of sickness rolled through me. The password to her secret world was our daughter. My hands were shaking as I opened her messages. The first thing I saw was a thread pinned to the top. The name was simply R. The last message, sent just an hour ago, read, "Wish you were here instead of with him. Can't wait for Tuesday." My blood ran cold. "My brother's name is Ryan." I opened the thread. It was a novel of betrayal, months of it, flirtatious banter, inside jokes and photos. Selfies of them in a car, Chloe's head on his shoulder, a picture of their hands intertwined on a coffee shop table, a shot of her laughing, wearing one of his old Georgetown sweatshirts in what was clearly his apartment. I scrolled, my breath catching in my throat. Chloe? He's so oblivious, it's almost sad. Ryan, don't feel sad. He's boring. You deserve excitement. You deserve me. Chloe. He's a good father though. Ryan. He's a good provider. There's a difference. He gives you a life. I make you feel alive. The arrogance. The sheer contempt. My own brother. The kid I taught how to throw a football. The best man at my wedding. He'd been sleeping with my wife, mocking me with cheap, predatory lines. A guttural sound escaped my lips, a mix of a sob and a roar. I almost threw the phone. But I stopped. I had to see it all. I backed out of the thread with Ryan and kept scrolling. That's when I saw it. Another pinned thread, labeled B. Who the hell is B? I opened it. The messages here were different, more intense, almost poetic. B. Saw you at dinner. You looked like a goddess, trapped in a painting. It's a crime you go home with him. Chloe. Sometimes the painting is the safest place to be. B. Safety is a cage. I want to see you fly. Usual spot tomorrow, 2 p.m. Who was B? The answer hit me like a physical blow. Ben, my best friend, my brother in all but blood. Ben, who I'd known since we were kids. Ben, who had also been a best man at my wedding. Ben, who I had lunch with every single Friday, where I'd confided in him about the growing distance with Chloe. I had been confiding in one of her lovers about my pain over her affair with the other. This wasn't a simple affair. This was a conspiracy. A systematic dismantling of my life perpetrated by the 3 people I trusted most. I sank to the floor, the phone clutched in my hand. It wasn't a backstab. It was a vivisection. Then, through the white-hot rage, a different thought emerged, cold, quiet, and terrifyingly clear. A confrontation would give them power. My pain would be their validation. No, I would not give them that satisfaction. This was my game now, and I was changing all the rules. The days that followed were a masterclass in self-control. I became the finest actor you've ever seen. I even went to my regular Friday lunch with Ben, listening as he asked with a look of sincere concern, "So how are things with you and Chloe? You seemed quiet at Thanksgiving." I looked him right in the eye. "We're fine, Ben," I said, my voice a marvel of calm. "Just the usual ups and downs, you know?" "Yeah, I do," he said, shaking his head. "Relationships are tough. You just have to find someone who gets you. Someone who sees the real you." The hypocrisy was suffocating. My lunches with Ben became crucial intelligence gathering. I recorded every word on a micro-recorder. My surveillance of my brother, Ryan, was colder. I put a GPS tracker on his car. Every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, he drove to a secluded trailhead at a state park. A few minutes later, Chloe's SUV would pull up. I sat a quarter-mile away with a telephoto lens and watched them. I documented everything. Then I discovered the most sickening layer of all. The three of them were aware of each other. It was in a group chat on a secure messaging app on Chloe's phone, a chat I'd almost missed. It was labeled, "The Inner Circle." Ryan. "He's taking her to that boring Italian place again tonight. Someone should rescue her." Ben. "Patience, my friend. She needs the stability of the harbor before she can appreciate the freedom of the open sea." Chloe. "Stop it, you two. You're terrible. But he just bought a new Traeger grill, so at least there will be good steak this weekend." Ryan. "See? Every provider has his purpose. Let him grill the steak. We'll provide the dessert." They were a team, a wolf pack. I wasn't a husband or a brother or a friend. I was a joke. That discovery changed something in me. The pain cooled into a diamond-hard resolve, but before I could execute my plan, I had to be sure of the one thing that mattered more than my own pain. Lily. I did the cheek swabs, the trip to the post office, and waited. The day the email arrived, I opened the file. Probability of paternity, 99.999%. She was mine. A pure, unadulterated, righteous fury washed over me. They had endangered my daughter, and for that I would make them burn. My plan needed a stage. My parents' 40th wedding anniversary party was in 2 months. It was perfect. I hired a professional video editor and gave him the mountain of data I had collected. Photos, video clips, text message screenshots, audio recordings. I instructed him to weave it all into a short documentary titled The Inner Circle. The final product was a slick, devastating masterpiece. A week before the party, I went to my parents' house and plugged a tiny wireless receiver into the back of their living room TV. With the press of a button, I could override their system and play my film. The day of the party arrived. The house was full of family and friends. Ryan was there, charming as ever. Ben was there, a comforting hand on my shoulder, and Chloe was there, playing the devoted wife, her hand linked through my arm. After the anniversary toast, I stood up. "If you don't mind," I said, "I'd like to say a few words too, and I have a little surprise, a short video I put together as a tribute to family." Everyone smiled. Chloe squeezed my arm, a look of patronizing approval on her face. Ben gave me a thumbs up. I pulled the mini computer from my pocket and pressed play. The happy family slideshow on the screen vanished, replaced by the title card, The Inner Circle. A confused murmur went through the room. Chloe's smile faltered. Ryan and Ben exchanged a nervous glance, and then the video began. The room was plunged into a silence so profound you could hear the ice melting in people's drinks. I watched their faces. My mother's, as she saw the texts, her hand flying to her mouth. My father's, his face turning to stone as he listened to Ben's recorded voice. But my focus was on the three of them. I watched the color drain from Chloe's face. I watched Ryan's arrogance evaporate into raw, animal panic. I watched Ben's mask of superiority crumble as his own words of fake sympathy filled the room. When the 20-minute video ended, the silence that followed was a living thing, thick with shock and disgust. My father was the first to move. He stood, walked over to the couch, and looked down at his youngest son. "Ryan," he said, his voice a low, terrifying rumble. "Get out of my house." He then turned to Ben. "I suggest you leave before I do something we'll all regret." Finally, he looked at Chloe. He didn't say a word, just gave her a look of such profound contempt that she flinched. "The party's over," I said calmly. Just like that, the spell was broken. People scurried out. Chloe let out a hysterical sob and ran from the room. Ryan and Ben stumbled out like beaten dogs. I was left alone in the living room with my parents. In the silent, empty space they left behind, I felt the first tentative flicker of peace. The aftermath was a quiet, methodical dismantling. The family closed ranks with brutal efficiency. Ryan was disowned. Ben became a pariah and moved to another city. I filed for divorce the next day. I was granted full custody of Lily. I sold the house, wanting to erase every memory. Chloe left the state, her life of excitement reduced to a guest room in a relative's house. My revenge wasn't slashing their tires. My revenge was simply holding up a mirror and letting the truth be the weapon. About a year later, at a parent-teacher conference, I met Emily. She was Lily's teacher, a woman with a kind smile and warm eyes. Our relationship grew slowly, built on honesty. I told her everything. She listened without judgment. Today, 3 years have passed. Emily and I are married. We live in a new house, filled with our own laughter. Lily adores her, and I'm learning what a true partnership feels like. I don't think about them much anymore. They are characters from a book I've already read. My victory wasn't their destruction. It was my own reconstruction. To forgive, I've learned, doesn't mean you forget. It just means you refuse to let their betrayal define your life. You take the pen back and start writing a new chapter. And my new chapter is 1,000 times better than the fiction I was living before.